December 19, 1944, Verdun, France. A cold rain falls on the ancient city. Inside the Caserne Maginot, a converted French army barracks, the most powerful military commanders in the Allied forces sit in stunned silence. The room is thick with cigarette smoke. Maps cover every wall. Red arrows, German arrows, slice through Belgium like daggers aimed at the heart of the Allied advance. General Dwight D. Eisenhower stands at the head of a long wooden table. His face is drawn. His eyes betray something rare for the supreme Allied commander. Fear. 18,000 American paratroopers are surrounded at a crossroads town called Bastogne. If that town falls, the Germans will have a clear path to Antwerp. If Antwerp falls, the Allied supply line collapses. If the supply line collapses, the war in Europe could stretch another year, maybe two. Eisenhower turns to the officers assembled before him: General Omar Bradley, Air Marshal Arthur Tedder, Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery's representative, and in the corner, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, stands General George S. Patton Jr. Patton wears his famous ivory-handled pistols. His boots are polished despite the mud outside. He does not sit. George, Eisenhower says, his voice heavy, "When can you attack?" Patton does not hesitate. December 21st, with 3 divisions. The room goes silent. "That's 48 hours, Bradley says. "I can count," Patton replies. It would require moving 250,000 soldiers, 6,000 vehicles, 40,000 tons of supplies, all of it wheeling 90 degrees north across icy roads in complete darkness, all of it done without alerting the Germans, all of it accomplished in 2 days. Every officer in that room knows it is impossible. Patton does not care what is impossible. Section 1, The Darkness Before. 3 days earlier, December 16, 1944. The Ardennes Forest, dawn. Private First Class Robert Miller of the 106th Infantry Division is eating cold breakfast from a tin can when the world explodes. The first German shells crash into American positions at 5:30 in the morning. 1,600 artillery pieces fire simultaneously along an 80-mile front. The trees themselves seem to catch fire. The ground shakes so violently that men cannot stand. For months, Allied intelligence has dismissed the Ardennes as a quiet sector, a place to rest exhausted divisions, a forest too dense for major armored operations. Adolf Hitler is counting on that arrogance. Operation Wacht am Rhein, Watch on the Rhine, commits 410,000 German soldiers, 1,400 tanks, and 2,600 artillery pieces to a single audacious goal: split the Allied armies in half, capture the port of Antwerp, force a negotiated peace in the West. It is the largest German offensive since the invasion of France in 1940. And for 48 critical hours, it works. Section 2, The American Line Breaks. December 17, 1944, 800 hours. The German 5th Panzer Army under General Hasso von Manteuffel smashes through American positions near St. Vith. To the north, the 6th Panzer Army under SS General Sepp Dietrich pushes toward the Meuse River crossings. Between them, American units disintegrate. The 106th Infantry Division, 2 full regiments, surrenders almost entirely. It is the largest mass surrender of American troops since the Civil War. Communication lines are cut. Commanders cannot reach their units. Units cannot reach each other. Panic spreads. Where are the Germans? Everywhere. By nightfall, the American front has a hole 60 miles wide. Through that hole pour German tanks, German infantry, German paratroopers disguised in American uniforms. Chaos reigns. At Supreme Headquarters in Paris, Eisenhower receives fragmentary reports. Each one is worse than the last. He knows what the Germans want: Antwerp, the gateway to everything. He also knows there is only one thing standing in their way: a small Belgian crossroads called Bastogne. Section 3, The Crossroads. December 17, 1944, 2200 hours. Bastogne is nothing special, a market town of 4,000 people, stone buildings, cobblestone streets, church steeples rising above the winter fog. But 7 roads meet at Bastogne, 7 roads that lead in every direction: north to Liege, west to the Meuse, south to Luxembourg. Whoever controls Bastogne controls the movement of armies. Eisenhower orders the 101st Airborne Division to hold the town. The Screaming Eagles. They are veterans of Normandy. veterans of Market Garden. They have jumped behind enemy lines and fought their way out before. Now they are asked to hold a position surrounded on all sides by an enemy that outnumbers them 10-1. Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe takes command. He has no tanks, limited artillery. The fog is so thick that air support is impossible. His orders are simple. Hold until relieved. He does not ask how long that will be. He already knows the answer. As long as it takes. Section 4, the Verdun Conference. December 19, 1944, 1100 hours, Kaserne Maginot, Verdun. The emergency meeting begins in an atmosphere of controlled despair. Eisenhower knows morale is critical. He opens with a statement that surprises everyone. The present situation is to be regarded as one of opportunity for us and not of disaster. The room stirs uneasily. There will be only cheerful faces at this conference table, Eisenhower continues. Patton grins. Hell, let's have the guts to let the sons of bitches go all the way to Paris, he says. Then we'll really cut 'em off and chew 'em up. It is vintage Patton, aggressive, profane, absolutely confident. Eisenhower does not smile. George, the enemy is vulnerable. His supply lines are stretched. If we can hit him in the flank while he's extended. I know, Patton says. The question is when. December 21st. Bradley shakes his head. George, your army is facing east. You're attacking the Saar. To hit the bulge, you'd have to turn 90 degrees north, in winter, over icy roads, in 48 hours. I know. It's never been done. Patton steps forward. His voice drops. The room goes silent. Brad, this army has been on the offensive for 5 months. My boys are the best damned soldiers in this war. Don't tell me what's never been done. I'll tell you what's going to be done. He turns to Eisenhower. Give me the order. I'll attack with the 4th Armored, the 80th Infantry, and the 26th Infantry. 48 hours. Bastogne will be relieved. Eisenhower stares at him for a long moment. All right, George, you've got it. Section 5. The machine begins to move. December 19, 1944, 1400 hours. 3rd Army Headquarters, Nancy. What happens next defies military convention. Before the Verdun Conference even begins, Patton has already anticipated the crisis. Days earlier, while other commanders dismissed intelligence warnings about German activity, Patton ordered his staff to prepare 3 separate contingency plans for turning north. Plan 1, a turn with 3 divisions. Plan 2, a turn with 6 divisions. Plan 3, a full army redeployment. When the phone rings from Verdun, his staff is ready. Execute Plan 1, Patton orders. The word goes out across 3rd Army. 6 divisions receive new orders. 250,000 men begin moving. Artillery units hitch up their guns. Tank battalions load ammunition. Quartermaster companies calculate fuel requirements down to the last gallon. The logistics are staggering. To turn an army 90 degrees means revering the direction of supply. It means coordinating movement schedules so that roads do not become clogged. It means ensuring that lead elements have fuel and ammunition when they arrive at their attack positions. It means doing all of this while the weather drops below zero and snow begins to fall. Patton issues orders that become legendary. Drive like hell, don't worry about your flanks. Let the enemy worry about his flanks. Speed is essential. We are out attacking the Krauts before they can dig in. His staff works without sleep. Traffic control officers are dispatched to every major intersection. Military police receive orders to keep vehicles moving regardless of conditions. If a tank breaks down, Patton orders, push it off the road. We're not stopping for anything. Section 6, the German Perspective. December 20, 1944, German 5th Panzer Army Headquarters. General Heinrich Freiherr von Leutwitz studies the map of Bastogne with growing frustration. The American paratroopers have dug in. Every road into the town is blocked. His panzers cannot advance without controlling the crossroads. He sends an ultimatum under a white flag. The fortune of war is changing. The USA forces in and near Bastogne have been encircled by strong German armored units. There is only one possibility, the honorable surrender of the encircled town. The message reaches General McAuliffe as he eats breakfast. What does it say? An aide asks. McAuliffe reads it, laughs. They want us to surrender. What's your answer? McAuliffe considers for a moment. Nuts. The one-word reply is delivered to the German officers waiting at the American lines. They are baffled. Is this affirmative or negative? The reply is definitely not affirmative. An American colonel explains. If you don't understand what nuts means, in plain English it's the same as go to hell. The Germans withdraw. The siege continues. But von Leutwitz is not worried. His intelligence tells him that American reinforcements are days away, perhaps a week. Bastogne will fall before relief arrives. He does not know that George Patton is already coming. Section 7. The Pivot. December 21, 1944, 600 hours. The Third Army attacks. From the darkness, American columns pour north on roads turned to ice by freezing rain. The 4th Armored Division leads the way. Behind them come the 80th Infantry Division and the 26th Infantry Division. Behind them, more divisions still. Patton drives forward in his jeep, observing his army in motion. What he sees would break lesser commanders, vehicles sliding off roads, traffic jams at intersections, supply trucks unable to keep pace. He does not pause. Keep moving. If your vehicle breaks down, walk. If you run out of gas, take it from a German. Just keep moving. The first day, the 4th Armored advances 20 miles. Not enough. Bastogne is still 30 miles away. Section 8. The Longest Days. December 22, 1944. German resistance stiffens. Panzer units turn to meet the American advance. The element of surprise is gone. Now it becomes a race. Can Patton reach Bastogne before the Germans crush it? At Bastogne, the perimeter shrinks. Ammunition runs low. The wounded cannot be evacuated. Food becomes scarce. Private George McGrath of the 101st Airborne writes a letter home that he knows may never be sent. We are surrounded. The Krauts are everywhere, but the officers say help is coming. We just have to hold on. December 23, 1944. A miracle. The weather clears. For 5 days, fog and clouds have grounded Allied aircraft. Now suddenly, the sky opens. C-47 transport planes roar over Bastogne, dropping supplies by parachute. Red, yellow, blue, orange, the colored parachutes drift down like Christmas ornaments. The defenders cheer. But the supplies are not enough, and the Germans know that if the weather closes again, the Americans are doomed. Von Manteuffel orders a final assault for Christmas Day. Take the town, he commands, no matter the cost. Section 9. Christmas at War. December 24, 1944, 2300 hours, 3rd Army Headquarters. Patton paces his office. His army is still 7 miles from Bastogne, 7 miles of frozen ground defended by German armor. He has done something no commander in history has done, turned an entire army 90 degrees in the middle of winter, in the middle of battle, but it may not be enough. For the first time in the campaign, Patton prays. He had ordered his chaplain, Father James O'Neill, to write a prayer for good weather days earlier. Now those words take on new meaning. Almighty and most merciful Father, we humbly beseech Thee, of Thy great goodness, to restrain these immoderate rains with which we have had to contend. Grant us fair weather for battle. The prayer has been distributed to 250,000 soldiers. Tonight they all night it answered. December 25, 1944, Christmas Day. The German assault on Bastogne begins at 300 hours. 18 German tanks supported by infantry attack from the northwest. They penetrate the American perimeter. For a terrifying hour, it appears Bastogne will fall on Christmas morning. Then the defenders counterattack. Tank destroyers knock out German panzers at point-blank range. Paratroopers fight hand-to-hand in the snow. By dawn, the German assault has been repulsed. But McAuliffe knows they cannot survive another attack like that. Where the hell is Patton? Someone asks. No one has an answer. Section 10. The Road to Bastogne. December 26, 1944, 1645 hours. Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams, commander of the 37th Tank Battalion, 4th Armored Division, stares at the village of Eisenhower through his binoculars. It is the last German-held position before Bastogne. His tanks are almost out of fuel. His men have been fighting for 5 straight days. They have covered 50 miles through enemy territory in the worst winter in European memory. Abrams has 2 choices. Wait for infantry support and attack in the morning. Or attack now with what he has. He chooses now. We're going through, he tells his tank commanders. We're not stopping. Don't fire unless you have a clear target. Just punch through and keep going. At 16:20 hours, the 37th Tank Battalion charges. 17 Sherman tanks race through a Senois at maximum speed. German soldiers scatter. Machine guns fire blindly. Grenades bounce off armor. The tanks do not slow. At 16:45 hours, Lieutenant Charles Bogus's tank crests a small rise. Ahead, he sees American foxholes, American uniforms, the perimeter of Bastogne. "Come on out," he shouts. "This is the 4th Armored." A paratrooper emerges from a foxhole. His face is gaunt. His uniform is torn. He has not slept in days. "Am I glad to see you," he says. "The siege is broken." Within hours, supplies pour into Bastogne. Tanks, infantry, artillery. The relief column brings everything the defenders need to hold indefinitely. When word reaches Patton, his reaction is simple. "God damn, we did it." Section 11, Historical Verdict. The relief of Bastogne did not end the Battle of the Bulge. Fighting would continue for another month. Thousands more Americans would die in the frozen forests of the Ardennes. But December 26, 1944 marked the turning point. The German offensive, already running low on fuel and momentum, could not recover from the loss of Bastogne. By mid-January, the Bulge had been eliminated. By March, American forces were crossing the Rhine. Military historians would later call Patton's pivot one of the most remarkable maneuvers in modern warfare. "What Patton did was unprecedented," wrote historian Stephen Ambrose. "To turn an army of that size 90 degrees in the middle of winter, in 48 hours, while under enemy pressure, no one had ever done it before. No one has done it since." General Eisenhower, who had doubted whether the feat was possible, later credited Patton with saving the battle. "George was right and I was wrong," he admitted after the war. "When the crisis came, he was ready. He had anticipated the need before I gave the order. That's the mark of a great commander." Not everyone praised Patton's achievement. Some historians argue that the relief of Bastogne was as much about the endurance of the 101st Airborne as it was about the speed of the Third Army. Others note that German supply failures, particularly the lack of fuel, doomed the offensive regardless of American actions. But none dispute the central fact. When 18,000 American paratroopers were surrounded and facing annihilation, one general promised the impossible. And he delivered. The cost was high. The 4th Armored Division suffered over 1,000 casualties in the week-long drive to Bastogne. Across the entire battle, American forces would suffer 89,000 casualties, including 19,000 killed, the deadliest battle in American history. But the sacrifice achieved its purpose. The German army never recovered from the Ardennes offensive. Within 4 months, Adolf Hitler would be dead, and the war in Europe would be over. The fog has lifted over the Ardennes. The snow is stained with oil and blood. In foxholes across Belgium, American soldiers celebrate Christmas one day late. At 3rd Army headquarters, General George S. Patton sits alone in his office. The maps on his walls no longer show red arrows pointing west. Now the arrows are blue, American arrows, pointing toward Berlin. In 48 hours, he had turned an entire army, moved 250,000 men across frozen roads, broken through German defenses, relieved the most critical position on the Western Front. They said it was impossible. He did not care what was impossible. Patton reaches for his diary and writes a single entry for December 26, 1944. "This operation is the most brilliant in American military history. It is strictly my own conception." Then he sets down his pen and turns back to the maps. The war is not over. 3 months earlier, at Verdun, Eisenhower had asked him when he could attack. 48 hours, he had answered, with 3 divisions. The room had gone silent. Every officer knew it was impossible. But they did not know George Patton. The rain still falls on Verdun. The ancient city does not notice. It has seen armies come and go for 2,000 years. It does not care about generals or their promises. But somewhere in the fog, moving through the darkness, an army had begun to turn. Not because the order came from on high. Because one man refused to accept what could not be done. 48 hours. That was the promise. That was what was delivered. And that is why, 80 years later, we still remember the name. Patton.